Hey, welcome. This video is going to change everything for you when it comes to building muscle. There's a lot of y'all today that are obsessed with the wrong things when it comes to building muscle. Y'all are asking these weird questions, these trivial questions like, does it matter if I do cardio before or after the workout? Or if I tilt my hand 2 degrees to the left, is it going to help me build more lats? Are my hamstrings going to feel more if I do this or that? All these things are trivial, man. And this is why y'all are struggling to build muscle, and the reason why y'all can't do it at all, and the reason why y'all fall off from doing it. But I have the solution here. I told y'all, I believe in the previous video, that I was gonna make this video for y'all. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this into several parts so that you can understand it. Now I'm not gonna sit here and bore you. I'm gonna give you a lot of value. I'm gonna make it easily digestible so that you can understand how to finally build muscle and do it the correct way. Now, behind me right here, I hope it's in focus, man, but I have the hypertrophy / muscle building hierarchy. This hierarchy is a thing that I've been using for the past 8 years, and I've been building muscle. How old am I? I'm 27. Yeah, it started around when I was like 18, 19, 20. That's when I really started to focus on building muscle for myself. I had to even break out the tank top so that y'all can see my physique, that I've actually done something with my physique over the past 8-9 years. I've been paying attention to all the bullshit studies that have been coming out and all that stuff. Now we're gonna go over each and every single tier. The one that's at the bottom is the one that's most important, and all the way at the top is the one that's of least importance, but it still plays a role in your journey to building muscle. So without further ado, once I snap my fingers here, it should pop up. So behind me here, I've got the hypertrophy / muscle building hierarchy. This is how you build muscle. This is how results come. This right here. The thing that's going on within the muscle building community and the fitness community is that you guys have taken this whole pyramid and flipped it upside down. Now, I should have made a graphic that I can put on the video so you guys can understand what I mean. Basically, what you guys have done is taken the things that are most trivial, like rest periods, like what shoes you show up into the gym, or whatever the case might be, and made those things very important. But then you've taken things like what's at the bottom here, adherence and consistency. You've made them of little importance and made them trivial, but it's a thing that you should be focusing on. I'm just gonna explain to y'all how and why the pyramid should be like this and not flipped upside down, because that's where a lot of y'all struggles are. Adherence and consistency is super important when it comes to building muscle. It's the catalyst for everything, and it's your precursor as to what your results are gonna be in the long run, because building muscle takes time. It's not something that's gonna happen in 2 months. Yeah, you might start to see some results in 2 months or whatever. I'm not gonna take that away from anybody. But the physique that you want to achieve is gonna take a certain amount of time. It could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take 3 years to get there. The only thing that this entails, adherence and consistency, is that we make a program for you that you can adhere to, that you can stick to, hence the word adherence. And with that adherence comes consistency. If we make a training program for you that you can't keep up with, or one that you hate, that doesn't suit you, you're not going to enjoy the process of building muscle. And that's super important. I can use myself as an example when it comes to this. I'm very consistent in my training because of the fact that I've used time to understand my own body and what it likes and what it doesn't like. Currently, I train 2 days on, back to back, and I'll take a rest day in between. I've noticed that if I take 3 or if I do 3 days of training in a row, it doesn't really work out for my body, because that 3rd day, my performance reduces, I'm tired, I'm gonna start cramping up, and it's not fun. So I figured out, okay, if I can train 2 days in a row and take one off, I can adhere to this, and it's gonna lead to consistency. And these are things that you have to find out about yourself, or if you wanna work with me and do it, we could do that too. This is simple enough. I'm not even gonna use a lot of time on it because it's simple enough. Adherence and consistency, that's all you need. Once you have those 2 things, everything else falls into place on the rest of this pyramid. So now we're on to the second tier of the hierarchy, and it is proximity to failure, but I like to call it muscles adaptation to stress. And I like to call it that because of the fact that when we train, like I explained, you want to have your muscles stressed, and they need to adapt to that stress that you put on them over a continuous period of time. And the only way for them to adapt is to grow. Proximity to failure can be very confusing for some people because of the fact that we have all this information out there, and there's a lot of people out that like to focus on failure and training to failure, and I don't know, people get so caught up in it, and it just makes things more worse and more difficult for them, especially when they're newbies, because they don't have that feel, or they don't have that understanding of how much is enough. Because training directly to failure is always going to harm you in the long run. If you're doing that consistently and doing it over a long period of time, you're just going to cause yourself more harm, because when you train to failure, all you're doing is causing yourself to have to use longer time to recover, because your body needs to recover, bro. Not just your muscles, your mind as well. It's really mentally taxing to be training to failure all the freaking time. Why am I saying freaking like I can't cuss? It's really taxing to train to failure all the fucking time. What? Anyway, the only thing that this entails is how your central nervous system and how you physiologically react to the stress that you put on your body. There's a couple things though that you have to focus on when training close to failure, because that's what we're trying to do here. The one thing you want to focus on is strict technique. You know what? That's actually the only thing you should focus on, because there are a lot of people that like to focus on the fact that, dang, you know, I can use cheat reps, I can do this and that. And those are part of those things that I'm telling you that are really trivial. Why use cheat reps? Especially when you're a newbie, bro. Like, it's not gonna speed up the process anymore. I can understand that for an advanced guy like me, maybe, but this is something that I don't necessarily use at all when it comes to me training. Why would I cheat my reps? If you have strict technique and you see that your technique is about to be garbage on this next rep, it's better that you stop, take a breather, and start the next set again. Strict technique, really watch out for that. So if you're doing dumbbell curls and you start to feel yourself, you know, start to jack them up and using all your arms instead of using your elbows to get them up, stop that set. Y'all see this line right here, this graph or whatever you want to call it. There are 2 tiers to lifting. Now, you have the 6 to 12 rep range. You guys have probably heard of that. Some people like to use 10 reps. I don't necessarily. I like to use 12 reps. Once you pass 10 reps, it starts to get to like rep 11 and 12. That's where I've noticed a lot of change happens. That's where you really start to push yourself and come out of plateaus and things of that nature. That's on the lower end of the scale. Now, on the higher end of the scale, we've got the 15 to 20 rep range, which is a lot easier. It's going to be a lot more fun to do. But another thing too, let me write that down before I forget. On the 6 to 12 rep range, this is where you're most likely going to have your compound lifts. That's all right. Compound lifts and just heavy shit in general. While on the right side over here, let me use a red pen or a red marker so that y'all can see it a bit better. These are going to be more of your isolation lifts. And just stuff that's light, maybe body weight push-ups, something like that. But on 6 to 12 reps range is going to be your compound lifts, stuff like squats. Like I said, heavy shit in general. Why would I want to do 150 kilo squats for like 15 reps? That's, you know, then I'm taking the muscle out of the game, because another thing you want to do too when you are training to build muscle is that you want to make the muscle the limiting factor. You want to make that muscle tired. You want to basically wear yourself down. We're not really focused on cardio here. We're really focused on making our muscle the limiting factor and making it burn and work. So remember that. Compound lifts on the lower end of the scale, all your heavy shit in general. And on the higher end of the scale, you have isolation lifts, you know, such as your lat raises and things of that nature. But again, you have to be careful here as well, because you don't want to be doing more than 20 reps. It's not a great idea, because if you're doing more than 20 reps and all you're doing is actually just having fun instead of training, you know what I mean? I've been noticing that a lot too. I've gained a bit of strength. I've come out of my plateau, luckily, and now like the weights that I was using before, I have to switch them up when I'm doing lat raises, for example, because if I'm still doing the same weights that I was doing, let's say 6 months ago, I'm like past 20 reps. I'm doing like 21, 22. I'm not feeling much at all. Another tip that I can give y'all with the higher end of the scale is that it's always going to be easy until like the last 2-3 reps. And that's why we have the 1 to 2 reps in reserve here, because you just all of a sudden feel like, damn, like I can't really go anymore. While on the lower end of the scale, we have the 1 to 3 IRR. reps in reserve. I didn't even explain that, but I'm gonna assume y'all know what that means. If not, I'm gonna put reps in reserve on the screen somewhere so that I can explain it. But usually when you're doing those compound lifts or things that are heavy in general, you usually start to feel like, damn, like these next few reps might be hard, and that's when you know when to stop. But on the higher end of the scale, it's gonna come a lot later. That's it for the second tier of the hypertrophy hierarchy. Let's go ahead and move on to the third. I think it'll be the last one for this video because I want to split it up and not make everything too long, and I want to make everything digestible for y'all.